Great. Hi, everyone. John Murcott here. Welcome to Insight25. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We're really looking forward to this conversation. You can kind of bill this presentation here as the big demo session. I know you've seen some other demos, but we're mainly going to do demos. We're not going to show too many slides. And not only are we going to show demos, we're going to show demos of stuff that we're working on. So not just features we have, but where we're going with all of this. I am lucky enough to be joined by our AI guru on the products team here, Jordan Coughlin. Jordan, could you introduce yourself?
Great, yeah. Hi, I'm Jordan Coughlin. I'm a technical product manager here at HawkSearch and Bridgeline. My job is helping John execute the AI strategy that we have for Bridgeline and all of our products.
Great. And you're going to do a lot of the demo.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the easy stuff. So I'm the older guy. I'll do stuff that maybe some of you have seen and we've done before, but Jordan will cover the newer things. And I know I promised we're not going to do a lot of slides, so don't worry. This is it, the final slide. We'll get right into demo, but it just helped tell a story. It's actually, I think, a nice continuation from Ari's start this morning. And it's this evolution from when we first started doing a lot of these AI features around what we call smart search. So it just means, well, in addition to keyword, we also support what we call concept, visual, and image search. And I'll show it off in a second, but the point is we're leveraging embedding models in AI in order to improve relevancy in search results. Then I'm going to hand it over to Jordan. And what Smart Response does is Smart Response takes those results, the results from Smart Search that came back, and then say, let's do something with it. Let's summarize them. Let's compare them. Let's start a conversation. And I'm sure you notice in Google, you'll see this quite often. You do a search, of course, you get your search results, and then you see an AI component that's writing out an answer for you. So that's one way of thinking of Smart Response. Gen AI is one of the technical terms that drives a lot of this. And then the exciting things moving forward that Ari really focused on in the call this morning is this idea of agents. We call them just smart agents. So Jordan's going to go through MCP and explain, like, how can I help the merchandiser? So these first two, smart search and smart response, for the most part, are related to your customer, the visitor to the site. Smart agents, yes, they can also be used, especially in conversational search, to help that search experience, but it also helps the merchandiser. How can we help the people who log into HawkSearch all the time make them more productive, help them, give them some insights, leveraging these agents that are very familiar with our API and dashboard API. So I'm going to switch over. Since this is the demo one, even I will do a demo. I'll just start with the basic stuff. So as I was saying, in the search world, some of the stuff you're already familiar with. So I'm just going to do like a little bit of a flow here. So you'll hear people at HawkSearch talk about instant engage. So I haven't even searched for anything yet. I just clicked inside the search bar and I get this little machine learning response, which says, what's trending? What's popular? What are people searching for? Etc. It's a neat feature that automatically starts returning some results even before I start typing. But of course, once I do start typing, that little interface, that component that opens up underneath, changes to autocomplete. Once again, still a world that we all know. We kind of know how this works. I see my search results. We have a nice campaign here. We're still doing stuff that's pretty well understood. But where it starts to break down is when I ask a question or I pose a statement or a problem. So if I say, what should I bring for cooking on a camping trip? You can see already the autocomplete doesn't really know what to respond here. If I do a search, it's not a horrible result, but I just see a kind of a couple of results here, and it's not showing the full result set that an AI-driven search could do, which is this concept search that I mentioned before. So if I take the same query and I put it through the concept search, now I'm seeing a dramatically different list of results because it's not looking for the keywords that I had in that bar. It's really just saying I'm going to do a match using these embedding models to find the best match. Sometimes people talk about it, I'm going to find the nearest node. The point is the technology returns better results, even if you're asking a question, even if you're posing a statement. Now, some of you might say, cool, I like it, But why do I have to keep switching back and forth between these two interfaces? Can't you merge, unify, what some people will call hybrid search, these two fields together? And the answer is yes. So in this interface, now I can ask that same question or put in a keyword. The point is, I should have pre-done this one, Jordan, like you have on some of yours. You'll see the results come back, but something else interesting happens too. I know I mentioned before that this result from the hybrid search, it comes from the keyword and it comes from the concept, but believe it or not, it also comes back from image search, meaning the model we use for creating vectors with these images, it's not just doing a match of the picture itself, it's also doing a match on the text that describes the picture. It's part of that embedding process. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to wrap up here and then Jordan, you can get to the real fun stuff. So here, now I'm going to get into the visual search, as I was saying before. Of course, if I was on my phone, I would just be taking a picture. I'm on my desktop, of course, here, and I'm sorry you can't see the pop-up, but I'm just opening up a picture that I downloaded. And what's going on here is the system is looking at that picture and finding matches, not finding an exact match of what's in the picture, because I obviously don't have this person with the goggles on and the helmet, but it did recognize, well, you have goggles in the system, and that matches the goggles that are inside here, and some helmets, etc. So it's a much more sophisticated way of understanding how to find the nearest node, so to speak, to find the picture in my product catalog. And then, as I mentioned briefly before, that's the visual search that we just did. On the image search, I could describe a picture. So if I say, show me a woman climbing a cliff, I love this picture. This picture is just associated with the product. It has nothing to do with cliffs. Nothing's in the description. It's not using any of the metadata around the picture or the product this picture is related to. It just, as I was saying before, understood when it created the embedding for this picture that this text also describes it and finds that match. And it's so powerful to also grab that information and include it in the hybrid search. So Jordan, now the newer stuff. I'm handing it back to you.
Great. Yeah, I'll take this. Yeah, and where we pick up now is integrating some of our Gen AI solutions in with the retrieval solutions that we have. So you saw vectors being created and products being returned by their vectors. Now we pass those vectors and those products along to the Gen AI, and what the Gen AI does is it provides an analysis of those items and then reacts to not only the products that are returned, but the prompt entered by the user. So we can do a search of similar search, like what should I bring for a camping kitchen?
Jordan, I think I'm not seeing you may have to hit share one more time here.
Hold on a second.
There you go. All good. Yep, go for it.
Great. And you can see here it's formatted this very nicely and provides a little bit of analysis and a specific product recommendation. And we can take that one step further. This is a one-shot example, but we can take that a step further by going to our conversational search and doing a similar question. And this will retrieve similar results. And if we open the conversational search option, now we can actually talk to the Gen AI about the result set that's here. So give me some details about the Pack Kitchen 8. And you can see here it provides some response. The Pack Kitchen 8 from GSI sets a high standard for quality and innovation in camping gear. It typically includes the bare essentials needed for cooking and while enjoying the outdoors. And it provides some follow-up questions that you could ask, like, tell me about the materials used. And something I love about this experience is that it allows users to find out more about specific products, all without leaving the search results page. So I can still continue browsing without breaking up that flow for the user.
Jordan, can you spend 1 second, not that we're not UX designers, so we're not saying this is what it looks like, but what kind of flexibility do you have in what that experience looks like, what we're looking at right here?
Yeah, so what you're looking at here is the out-of-the-box Rapid UI component, and this is simply um, out of the box component that you can style and
Yeah,
put anywhere on your page. It comes built in with all the functionality to converse with our API and pass all that product data behind the scenes. And it truly takes like we whip up these demo sites in like 3 minutes. It's a component. You have your HTML and then you have the component and then some very simple CSS to make it look like this. But you could throw it in the bottom right corner if you want, the bottom left corner. Doesn't really matter to us where you put it, but that's what's available.
perfect.
Great. And then what I'd like to do is move on to some of our Gen AI options for merchandisers. So this is something that's coming very soon. We're leveraging a tool that was developed by Anthropic called MCP, which stands for Model Context Protocol. And what Model Context Protocol enables is the ability for your large language models to understand tools at a very integral level. So they understand exactly how data is supposed to be structured in order to execute commands on the server side. And that's maybe a bit of technical jargon, but I wanted to clear that up. And you can see here there's two components to MCP. There's the MCP server, which is where the code is actually executed, and then the MCP client. And we are leveraging Claude as an MCP client here. This isn't like the only space that you'll be able to leverage our servers from. We will be developing our own client soon to come that will be hosted in a place in one of our domains.
Yep.
So let's get started here. You've probably had enough time to read this prompt, but I'm just letting it know that we're doing a demo for the Virtual Client Summit. So it stops in between steps and allows me to interject. So we'll submit that. And let's just hit that. Okay. And as you can see here, we have a number of tools available from MCP. For the most part, it's just our create synonym tools and our search tool that I've enabled just for this demo.
And
So
Jordan, is
go
tool
ahead.
just another way in this case of saying it's our API, the dashboard API of HawkSearch?
Yeah, in this case, it's the dashboard API of HawkSearch, but you could imagine a world where not only is it tied to the HawkSearch dashboard API, it's also tied to our advanced analytics platform that's coming shortly,
Right.
and it will be able to make informed decisions based off of data that it can pull out of there. You could also link to the same agent other MCP servers that either your team has developed or you've worked with us to develop so that you can do interesting things like bring in your GA4 data if you'd like, or maybe
Yeah.
reference something in your ERP, all from a single chat interface. And not only is this, it's not only limited to this chat interface, as Ari mentioned before in his presentation, you can have other quote unquote sensors that can feed the agent this information. So maybe you have a trigger that's set up to feed in your analytics from the site automatically, and you want it to execute some sort of uh, synonym creation or something like that. Those
Yeah.
are definitely well within the realm of possibilities here. So I'll kick us off by just showcasing its ability to understand uh, a simple prompt and then execute based off of it. We'll start with let's do a search for jacket and analyze the results.
And Jordan, this is hitting the same demo site we were looking at before, that outdoor demo.
Exactly. This is the outdoor demo data.
Got it.
And you'll see this prompt a lot. All it's saying, since I'm in developer mode, it just wants me to sign off on all the tool calls. Great. And as you can see here, it does some analysis on the results returned. There was 163 jackets, the facets that came back, the top results, and some other notes about the diversity of the product as well as price points. And what we can do is we can have it search for something similar, like now search for coat and compare the results. And the key here is the comparison. Now it's making these searches completely separately and looking at the data that comes back and generating a comparison between, that's not a tool call, that's just it compare the LLM looking at the responses and then uh, making a comparison between the two. Yeah, and you can see here, I actually already had some synonyms here, and you can see that because of those synonyms, it returns the exact same result set.
So
Great.
this
And
is similar, Jordan, what Ari was saying. It's like if you ask an intern to say, go through all of these keywords and see if they're returning good results and compare them.
exactly. Let me just update something really quickly over here.
Just while Jordan's doing that, the part I love is that analysis. So that's what the quote unquote intern could have just written up and then sent and said, okay, here was the analysis that you asked for.
Exactly. All right. What I just did on the side there was there was some results or a synonym that had already been generated that I hadn't been cleared out of the system yet. So if I have it, let's actually, I'll do a live demonstration of the debugging capabilities here. So I can see now what synonyms are available in the system.
The other advantage, I guess, with the LLM before and after is you could misspell stuff as you're talking to it and it'll understand.
Which John is learning that I am not a great speller.
Neither am I, especially you're doing this way on the cutting edge. This is not this is stuff we're working on behind the scenes. We just want everyone to see what we're doing.
Yep. So you can see here we have something linking jackets and coats, and these are set up in multi-way configurations, um, and so on. So now I'd like to go on to a little bit more of a demonstration showcasing its ability to act on behalf of a merchandiser in a more intelligent way. So we can prompt it to do something like search for synonyms of hats and identify poor results.
By the way, Jordan, one of the biggest requests I get is what do we do with these searches with poor results?
It seems to have misunderstood my query a little bit here, so I'm going to actually cut it off. But submit some searches for the synonym for generated synonyms of hat and look for poor performing searches. And you'll see it run through a number of queries here. It's looking for cap, it's looking for beanie.
And it's amazing it can go through all of that return JSON so quickly and understand what's inside there. It's pretty crazy.
Yep. And it's created a table here showing that hats come back with 136, cap only comes back with 57, and a lot of those are actually water bottles. Beanie comes back with 51, and then it adds some intelligent notes as well.
That is cool.
Yep, it's very cool. And
They must have
I kind
added
of
that, but
I'm
they must have
going
added that component. We were talking about tables. It looks like it's getting
yeah,
smart enough now to generate these tables as well.
totally. And yeah, the next interesting thing we can do here is it's asking to demonstrate the creation of an improved synonym that'll help identify those issues. So let's go ahead and allow that. Yes, please. I always try to be nice to the agents.
It is weird because I know we all use it. I wonder how many people on the call are also friendly to the AI agent, but I always say please every time.
Yeah, you have to say please and thank you.
Yeah. Especially when you screw up and you say, please back out of everything you said, everything you just changed. That is a huge help.
Yep,
So you should be thankful.
definitely. And now we just need to give it a minute for those changes to propagate.
I know it's something you're working on, Jordan, but I love this idea too to say, yep, that's good. Please re-index. Indexing is always
Yeah,
that fun process. I
yeah,
know you're good at
lots of that.
indexing, but if you could just talk to it and say, yeah, please re-index, that's a huge win.
Yeah, currently you can see, let's see what do I have in here at the moment. I don't have the index tool available, but right now it's just enabled to show the indexes that you have. But regardless, the indexing has completed. Um, let's revisit those test searches and see if the results improved. Provide a table showcasing before and after.
I always remember in school, they said, show your work. I don't think you could show more work than what we're seeing here. Yeah, this is totally new. It's so funny. A few days ago, we were running through this and it wasn't generating tables. Now it's getting better at generating these tables. It's crazy.
Yep. And as you can see, headwear went from 50 to 198. And it's identified some remaining issues. We have some additional work here, John, to do. It's still equating a cap to a bottle cap versus a head cap.
Yeah, a world
Um,
we all live in. Yeah,
yeah.
figuring those things out.
And it's even calling us out for our duplicate category structure.
I'm blaming you on that one, Jordan.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. So, John, is there anything else you'd like me to show off with MCP here? We have a couple of extra minutes.
Totally. So the way if I could play back, Jordan, and just make sure that I'm following, I know you said before, essentially what you did to make this work is you said, I'm going to go through the dashboard APIs. I know it's not all of them, but we have a large number. Basically, anything that a merchandiser does inside of HawkSearch, when you hit save or submit or whatever that is, it's calling that endpoint, it's doing the update or whatever that is. What you did is you said, almost like a Swagger file for more technical people to say, here's the endpoint. These are all the variables it takes. Okay, it has something called title. It's a text. It's this, it could be this long, that type of thing. You describe, these are all of the variables and the endpoint and what it does. And then once you explain that for the API, you can now start having these conversations.
Exactly.
Is that a
Yeah,
good way to put it?
that's a great way of putting it.
So right now,
One,
one of the next steps is just go through and start adding stuff like the indexing API and things like
mm,
that.
yeah,
Uh,
soon the goal for our future release is for you to have complete control of every merchandising tool that we have from an agent, either an agent that's conversing back and forth with you or an agent that's informed by some other data set. Last thing I'll do here before we start wrapping up is I'll just ask it to return this data set to the way it was before, by just asking please revert all of the changes made today.
It's amazing how much context it's keeping. So it knows all the things it did. This is like Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control C, Control C, but it's just remembering all those things. It's pretty amazing here. And just to share once again, so everyone knows from a uh, product perspective, we are definitely thinking for the first phases of this, it's always going to require the merchandiser to sign off.
Yeah.
You'll get to a point, or you get to a point where you're comfortable saying, yeah, you can just do it and make those changes. I do want to just wrap up with a little bit of the roadmap here, Jordan, but before I do, you mentioned it briefly, but just to make sure we're on the same page, that this does also mean you not just connecting to the dashboard API that we said, but also your Google Analytics that would be stored in our new advanced analytics tool, right? From the MCP standpoint, it's just another endpoint that has other variables, and I'll understand what to do with that.
Exactly. So we'll start with what's available in the Hawk Search dashboard, and then we'll expand it to include our analytics. And then additionally, we're planning to provide services to enable this to connect to other platforms that you have as well. Say you want to make a connection to your ERP or maybe some other analytics platform you have, we can connect all those things together.
Perfect. Well, as I said, we did not cover these slides, but we'll have them if people would like to see these just for the notes perspective. And Jordan was nice enough to share his client with me so I can run it on my machine too. So we can start really working on the requirements for how we take that experience you saw, not exactly the same, but put it into Hawk Search itself. So for people that have been following along with the way we handle our roadmap, for the last 3 years, we've kind of been following themes. So the first theme was cars, Bronco and others, and it was just kind of the stage of the business and what we were working on at that time. Last year, when we really were getting into some of that initial AI stuff that I did in the demo, the smart search, for example, we changed the theme and moved to the Greek gods because wow, it's so powerful. Zeus, Athena, it's so beautiful. That was part of the inspiration for that naming. So now, welcome to 2025. Now we're heavily focused on these agents. So we're just having a little fun with famous agents. So what Jordan showed, some will be available in the Born release. So Born, a famous agent here. And then we have one after that called Black Widow. So we're getting back into our release schedule. We're super excited about this one. So we'll have a whole bunch of webinars. Please ask us about it and we can explain what's in there. And that's kind of going to be the next 3 releases will be very much agentic AI related features. And then we'll just wrap up here. You probably have seen these in the other conversations, but please, we would love to show you what we can do in a demo and a proof of concept. That's what Jordan and I do all the time. That's why whenever we do these things, it's like, oh, sorry, I forgot to back out of those indexes. So Jordan, we're all making these changes and everything else, but we do it because what you were looking at just now is our data. It's just sample stuff. It's just, from our perspective, it's just content. But we'd love to do it with your data. So please, we'd love to step through what you have. And basically what Jordan and I do is we set up these proof of concepts with your data, seeing these features and what you think about it. And the other thing that we're super excited about is, even though this is fun, and this is the first time we've done a virtual summit like this, and I think overall it's gone without any technical glitches, considering all of these various sessions and everything going on could be quite fun, or could have issues we haven't. But don't worry, we still like the in-person summits as well. So that is coming, updates to come, but we plan on doing an in-person summit again in the fall. So Jordan, thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to setting up more and more of these agents for customers and people interested in this. And we have a huge year ahead in Hawk Search. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Bye bye.